When you think of homesteading, what comes to your mind? When you think of homesteading, do you imagine a place that has 20, 30 acres? All kinds of animals? Or what do you picture homesteading? Today I'm going to talk about how you can homestead in the city. The idea of homesteading is different for every person. And so many times people want to know, well, how can I homestead? Tessie and I live in this city. You may picture homesteading as living maybe like me, 1 acre. Maybe you scoff at the idea that I say I'm a homesteader. Or maybe you think I have a big homestead. It all depends on your perspective. Most people think that homesteaders have chickens, like I do. Most people who have a homestead have a garden. But how can you homestead in the city? We're going to go step by step, and I'm going to teach you and share with you ideas about how you can homestead. I have a friend who lives in Brooklyn, New York, and I think he's a homesteader. He has a small plot of ground in the back of his house where he turned that into a beautiful place where he grows all kinds of things. As I walk down to my garden, and it is the end of January, I'm thinking about homesteading. And what did I want to do when I homestead? Well, for me, I wanted 1 acre of ground. I wanted to be able to plant a lot of my own food. And it really has been quite a blessing to me. So I'm standing here right in front of my garden. It's really large. It's a very big garden. In fact, it takes up most of our land that we have here. It is dormant right now, but it is protected with 4 inches of leaves. Now the leaves are starting to decompose. But how does that help you? We're going to talk about homesteading. Those of you who live in the city or live in a very urban environment, I first want you to decide, what do you want to do with homesteading? What do you want to do? What do you perceive to be homesteading? And then we're going to talk about what you can do with what you have. Homesteading is just a very generic term. It's a term of people using what they have. Most times, homesteaders are about saving money. Now, of course, you're going to find some YouTubers who homestead and they are really, really in debt, or they have large operations. To me, that's farming. To me, that's not homesteading. To me, I feel like homesteading is somebody who's taking nothing and turned it into something, and it's micro-managed, so it's small. A micro farm. Living in this city, you got to think about 2 things. Do you have any kind of ground that you live on? In other words, do you have even a 6 by 6 foot area of green grass? Do you have a back area, back porch? Do you have a balcony? Those can make your life so much better and easier if you want to homestead. All right, take for instance if you have a little backyard. Even the size of a king-size bed, you could till that up, work that up, and plant something in it. Or if you have a balcony, you can take your compost from your kitchen. The thing you can do is, if you live in the city, is you can compost. Now this is a small kitchen composter. It has a filter, so there's no smell whatsoever. And if you have a little area outside, you can, after it's composted, or once a week or once a day, you can go ahead and put it into a larger bin outside. Then you can add a little bit of soil to it. And in the matter of a couple months, you'll have beautiful potting soil that you can use. This composter I got on Amazon, and I'll share with you the link in case you're interested. They're not that expensive. They're really nice. And you save everything. Save banana peelings, save eggshells, coffee grounds. All of this you can save even if you're in the city. You can put it out in a little compost bin on your balcony. Now, if you have no ground whatsoever, that doesn't mean you can't homestead. That means you have to think outside the box. And how can you do that? Well, I'm going to show you a little bit, some ways that you can do that. But you can go to farm markets and buy produce. You know, even if you live in the city, there's usually some places that you still can buy some food. Canning is something you can do. You can preserve food for yourself, even if you don't even grow it. Now, if you have a farmer's market, or you have a section of your grocery store that has organic produce, you can go ahead and you can preserve that. You can make jams and jellies, all of these things. You don't have to have any ground or any property, so to speak, to do all that. You can make your own butter, and I share with you in videos, hundreds of videos, how you can take whipping cream that you get at the grocery store. You can turn that into your own butter. You can homestead where you're at. You can have compost bins. You can do all of these things. It really helps if you do have a little balcony, or it does help if you have just a little patch of ground that you can actually go outside and do a few things like that. But what else can you do? Well, I'm going to show you. You can grow sprouts at your windowsill. You can make your own soap. All of these things are what classified as homesteading, but it's something that you can do on your own time no matter where you are. So I enjoy talking about homesteading so much because that is my passion, because that's helped me in so many ways. What else can we do? Well, let me show you. For the majority of you guys out there, most of you have a little bit of ground. Most of you have to mow a little bit of grass. Most of you have a little area that you can call your own. And for those of you who have that, it's so much easier to share with you and explain to you things that you can do. I've known people who live in Philadelphia, in the city, who when you walk in their house, it looks like a little homestead. It's amazing because they have plants growing on the windowsills, they're dehydrating, they're fermenting. But one of the things that you can do is, if you have just a little bit of ground, even this small area, this here is my hothouse, and so I can grow lots of plants in here, even in close to the winter time. It is very small, not very big at all, and you can plant all kinds of things in here. It's amazing. So that is real small. It's a real small area that you can plant stuff in it. I just took some old windows and an old frame and put it all together. All right, what else can we talk about? Well, I'm gonna show you other things. Do you like to sew? Do you like to do needlework? I mean, I've seen so many places that are deep in the city, and their homes are transpired into such a beautiful little homestead because they're growing things, they're making things, and it is really fun to watch. You know, my favorite channels to watch are not those big homesteaders. My favorite channels to watch are people who don't have much, but they made it into their own little area where they enjoy it. Those are the people I love to watch. Things I enjoy the most is my little greenhouse. This is tiny, this is small. At the time when I bought it, it was $56. Now you can get it for $65. $65, this gives me enjoyment all year round. And if you had a little place in the back of your house, you could put this up and you could plant all kinds of things. It doesn't cost you much money, it doesn't take much space, and you can grow so much. Container gardening is what I'm going to talk about a lot this year. You can pretty much plant anything in a container because they have these neat seeds now that come out that have all kinds of ways that you can plant zucchini. You can even plant popcorn in a container. Imagine that. But this greenhouse was the best investment I ever made, and it was only $56. And I can grow so much in here. So I would strongly suggest if you have a small area somewhere, you would have a greenhouse. That can really make your life much easier in planting things, and you don't even need the ground to do so. So here's some herbs I brought in that were planted in my garden. We have some thyme, we have lemon verbena, and we have some rosemary. These are lemon seedlings. This is the first year. They're really growing nice. Here's the Vicks plant, and more thyme, more rosemary. So you can grow all kinds of herbs at your windowsill. You gotta take time and make sure you water them. In the dead of winter, for us on the East Coast, it's really cold, but yet we have all this beautiful greenery. And if you live in a high-rise building, you can make yourself a makeshift shelf where you can put your herbs and flowers on. And I'll share with that in a moment. So we have just something sitting here in front of a window. But what happens if you need other ideas of where you can plant things? My sofa, I have a bench and I'm clearing it out because we need this to plant all of our seeds for the spring. Of course, you see my lemon trees and my grapefruit tree. But you can always put a bench right at a window, and that you can put your plants on to help them grow. Don't leave yet. I picked out these very special videos just for you.